So sustainable aquaculture is important for our future because the human population is growing so rapidly, and still we're anticipating at least 10 billion people on the planet by 2050, and by 2100 that's 11 billion. And so it's a lot about production of food, but it's not just amount, right? It's the type of food that we're growing, and that has a massive impact and implication for sustainability of our planet and people. Aquaculture kind of has this unique aspect to it where you have poikilotherms, or those species that don't have to regulate their own temperature and they don't have to fight gravity. So things like fish kind of float around, they are what the temperature is around them, and as a result they're super efficient on putting on weight. And that translates into lower impact because it's a lower input of things like feed. So if you do it, for instance, for a cow, minimum you have to put in 6 pounds of feed to get out a pound of beef. For fish, it's, for salmon anyway, down almost to 1-to-1. And then you have the species that don't even need to be fed. You have things like oysters, for instance, that just feed on the environment around them, and that's pretty powerful in terms of thinking about sustainability and feeding people. And usually you don't get a lot of win-wins like that in food systems, but there's a lot of potential there if you do it right. So one thing I think is really important to remember about aquaculture is that most of the time we think about it in this kind of seafood-centric way, comparing a shrimp to a salmon. But when we step back, we need to consider it on the table with all the other protein sources in the way that we eat in general. And new research is emerging, really showing how efficient aquaculture can be. And while there is a lot of variability when you compare it to something like a pig or a cow, it's an important facet to note that seafood really knocks it out of the park when it comes to efficiencies. And to be able to have a system like that, to think about that flexibility and what that means for sustainability into the future is it's a powerful tool, both for collaboration and sustainability into the future.